powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Great again. Great again.
Hey guys, welcome to the American Tribune Live. I am Todd Peterson. We're going light today. We got a little heavy on Tuesday where I basically said I don't want any immigrants voting or serving in Congress or any elected position ever again. So that was a little spicy. Thursday, we're going to take it down a notch a little bit and have some fun with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. If we have some time, we got some Joe Biden clips coming out of Pope Francis's funeral as well. Joe Biden was being Joe. I don't know why they trot him out there, by the way. Let's just talk about Joe while we're at it, and then we'll get to the highlights of Kamala Harris's return to the public sphere, where she delivered a speech that was as bad as you would expect. It was the epitome of Kamala Harris talking, drawing inspiration from zoo animals of all places, very angry that she lost still. It's kind of like the Hillary Clinton, where after she lost 2016, as she was already a miserable wench, Hillary Clinton was just the angriest person alive after that. It was her time to shine. She was waiting to sit on the throne for decades, and then Trump stole it from her. That was a beautiful moment. Kamala Harris, equally angry. She knows her time is done in the national spotlight. She is talking about running for governor of California, and honestly, at this point, it's California. Why wouldn't she become the next governor? They've watched their state decline so much, but if they just vote for the right Democrat this time, we need someone with fresh ideas, someone that's black, someone that's a woman, someone that's younger, even though I think Gavin Newsom and her are the same age. We need someone that's slept around a little bit and made her way to the top. Yes, good luck, California, with all of that. But yeah, Joe Biden at the funeral there, he was taking selfies, and I get that these guys do that behind the scenes. Like, if it's not the actual service, I don't really care. But he was just doing his thing. He was looking so confused, and it's like, why did they bring him out there? Poor Joe. Not poor Joe, though. I don't feel 1 ounce of pity for him. I hope he burns for all eternity. Joe Biden is an evil man. Jill Biden is an evil woman for trotting him out there in 2020, bringing him to this stuff still. He belongs in a nursing home. And remember, he was our president for 4 years. So when we talk about why voting is too easy and how voting needs to be severely restricted, that's one of the many reasons why. And I got more reasons right here. We got Kamala Harris and Tim Walz clips today. Voting is too easy, and my proof is that half this nation votes Democrat. I don't trust half this country to make a decision, let alone for themselves. And yeah, definitely not for me. You got people out there that are overweight, unhealthy, addicted to whatever, drugs, porn, video games, you name it. They can't even take care of their own life, but they're going to control my life. Get out of here with that nonsense. But folks, Kamala Harris, we got to start with Kamala Harris today. She was giving a speech, and she's only doing this because now she's running for governor in California. I imagine she's a shoo-in. She's got the name recognition, and good or bad, name recognition is all that matters nowadays. Remember, she was vice president. She allowed immigrants to come through the country unabated for years, tens of millions of them. Let's see how that works out in California, which has already been swamped with illegal immigrants and immigration in general. But good luck, California. Again, Democrats don't know what's good for them anymore. I saved them when I voted for Donald Trump. I always say, you're welcome to a Democrat voter. I saved you from yourself. But that'll be a while here. So she is campaigning. It'll be 2 years of campaigning for Kamala Harris. And by all means, as Carolyn Levitt says, we have a funny clip for you today. She says, please keep speaking, Kamala Harris. You're only helping us, which is spot on here. Folks, we got to get right into it. I think it's going to be a little bit shorter of a show today. We ran an hour 15 last Tuesday. We had a lot to say about immigration in America and what immigrants should be able to do and not do and what rights they should have. We're going to go a little shorter today. Got some clips of Harris, got some clips of Walz. He's making the rounds again. He's not running for the open Senate seat in Minnesota. That's what he says, at least. Every big name Minnesota Democrat is. I think Ilhan Omar is going to toss her hat in the ring. Walz's own Lieutenant Governor, Peggy Flanagan, who is a heartbeat away from being our own governor, just a complete disaster. She's the woman, if you recall, she's Indian by heritage, Native American, the feather, not the dot kind of Indian. She wants the entire state returned basically to tribes. She has worn shirts with knives with pictures of weapons saying protect trans. So you know what she stands for. So that was really close. She'll run for the Senate seat. I think she announced already. Tim Walz, because there are no term limits in Minnesota for governor, will likely run for re-election again, which is simply astounding to me. after everything he has done to mismanage the state, just blow through money, which Democrats love, by the way. They love their free monies. The COVID mishandling, which he was reelected after the COVID fiasco, people said, I want to be ruled harder by big daddy government. And then after everything that came out, I live in Minnesota. I didn't know most of what came out when he was vice presidential candidate. There was just so much involved with Tim Walz, it is disgusting. And even after that, Minnesotans will vote for him because Minnesota Democrats are the epitome of Minnesota naive and white guilt. That's all this is. They will vote blue no matter who because it makes them feel good. Donald Trump is a fascist. Didn't you know that? He's Orange Man, and Orange Man is bad. And Republicans are mean because they want to make this country safe by securing the border, ending wars overseas, helping you keep more of your money. I think we're going to see a lot of fun stuff come out about income taxes and taxes in general in the next 4 years under Donald Trump if we can get these tariffs implemented correctly. But Minnesotans up here, nope, that's all bad stuff. We want criminals back on the streets. We want more illegals to get free health care. We want illegals to fill up space in your government schools so that your kid, your white middle-class kid, can't learn anything anymore because we got to teach Jose over here how to speak proper English. So Minnesota is a disaster. It is a disastrous state. They aspire to be California. Minnesotans would love if Kamala Harris could run for governor here. They would vote for her. It would probably be 60-40 because that's how many dummies live up here where I live. Because Orange Man bad. You can't have hurt tummies. You can't have any owies in you. You can't, I can't vote for America first because they're mean. I'm just going to feel good about myself and watch the state burn. That's how Minnesotas operate. That's how California operates, New York, Illinois. But Minnesota is trying to be the dumbest state in the union. Let's dive right into it. We got 2 Kamala Harris clips here. Let's start with the absurd, and then we'll get to the angry. Kamala Harris, though, drawing inspiration from unimaginable places. Let's just say that.
To incite fear are most effective when they divide and conquer. But in the face of crisis, the lesson is don't scatter.
She had 100 days to come up with something, powerful. Just 100 days to come up with this banger speech, and this is what we got.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Well, and here's the thing. She appeared in California, in San Francisco. There's speculation she's leaving the door open to run for governor in 2026 because Gavin Newsom is term limited. But at the same time, apparently she's also leaving the door open. Maybe she will run for president again.
It's a great idea.
Her friends say. But she's only really popular in California. So if California picked for the whole country, she might be president. But currently, that's not.
I'll tell you what, I don't know what kind of competition she's going to have. Jake Steinfeld says he might jump in. He'll have the backing of a lot of people. We got Steve Hilton is already in there. Mm-hmm. He certainly knows how to organize a campaign. I don't think she's that popular. No. I think that she has won these regional races, these small races. I don't think she's really fully been challenged. I mean, I guess they do the jungle primary, where...
I don't know if you can say, I left that clip play out. I don't know if you can say jungle primary with a black candidate, just to be a little facetious there. But yikes, just yikes. And I love the initial comment made on that show. You had this whole time to prepare, not even just the first 100 days of Trump's administration. Since you lost on election night, how did you want to reemerge in public? How did you want to inspire the Democrat base? And she's up there basically trying to figure out what to say on the fly, and the best she come up to when things get scary, don't scatter. What is this, folks? Like, I know I'm live on the show, and sometimes we're searching for words here, and that happens on a live show. She had a written speech. She had 100 days at least to prepare this speech, but because she is such a low IQ human being, don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Don't look at her resume. Don't let them point to her credentials. Didn't you know that Kamala Harris went to law school? She was in California politics and worked her way up as a DA, and then she was a vice president and a senator and a presidential candidate. She has such a burnished resume. Look how smart she is. Folks, your resume and your experience have some relationship to your intelligence and your ability and your skill set. In the case of politicians, though, absolutely not. Donald Trump had 0 political experience before he became president, and he was fantastic. Kamala Harris's entire life has been sleeping with other politicians and working her way up because she preys on white liberal voters to say it's a black woman's turn. That is not the same thing whatsoever. So no, she is dumb, moronic. You got it right there. That is all she's ever been. You can see it right there. It's only going to get worse. I think, just like we saw with Joe Biden, I like to think that this evil eats away at their soul. It chips it away. Their brains are fractured. Because they know what they're saying is a lie. They know what they're saying is evil. Yes, they believe it, but deep down in the subconscious, in their soul, they know what they're doing is wrong, and so it just eats at them slowly and slowly over time. So I think you're going to see the same thing, the same sort of decline with Kamala Harris. She can't keep this up forever. Again, she's not starting with a lot, so the longer this plays out, the worse it's going to get for her. But again, she's had a lot of time to reflect and think about things and what does she want to do next, and she was trying to inspire you. Don't scatter, folks. But here is Kamala Harris. This is the Kamala Harris I would expect to see.
But sadly, we have seen quite the opposite over these past few months. Now, I know tonight's event happens to coincide with the 100 days after the inauguration, and I'll leave it to others to give a full accounting of what has happened so far. But I will say this. Instead of an administration working to advance America's highest ideals, we are witnessing the wholesale abandonment of those ideals.
They never spell it out. It's worth noting here. I'll leave it to others to decide how it is. I'm going to allude to how bad Donald Trump is. They can never provide evidence. It is always up here in the theoretical world. It's the false theoretical world, by the way. He's bad. I'm going to let others tell you how he's bad, but I'm going to tell you that the ideals that America has, and I don't know about you folks, but the ideals for me are written in the Constitution, where we have a limited government and freedom, and we still have rights and obligations to our society, to ourselves, which the Bible clearly lays out. They hate the Bible. You have obligations to yourself, to your family, to your community, to your nation. The Constitution did a pretty good job with that. So when she talks about the ideals of the nation that we're not living up to, again, there are zero examples of that. There are zero examples of how she thinks Donald Trump's first 100 days are wrong. And I will say this. Am I giving Donald Trump an A+? No, I am not. I have not seen any major arrests yet. I haven't seen nearly enough deportations. I have not seen enough government cutbacks. We're still passing all the spending bills. We're still funding all the entities that we have now figured out are completely corrupt. There's not even like they're a little corrupt. It's just completely corrupt. We're still funding all of them. And some of that's on the legislature and Mike Johnson. And again, Mike Johnson, mixed bag. Didn't love him. Didn't want to go through the fight. He's getting out of the way of Donald Trump, which is fine. But now he needs to codify and actually enact into law the Trump executive orders. There are a lot of things that Trump has left on the table so far. And yes, it's only 100 days. But that being said, I voted for immediate change. We're getting some things on the fringe. We're seeing some good headlines come out. But the things that I really voted for, it's not happening enough. So if Kamala Harris had gone down that path and said, America, Donald Trump needs to do more, and you wouldn't do that, fine, we can agree on that. But Kamala Harris, when she's out there saying, well, I'll let others decide how bad Donald Trump has been. He is destroying this country. And you just have to wonder, who believes that at this point? Let's run down the list. And actually, before I run down the list here, these are the election results. Folks, we need to remember that it was not a landslide. I know people like to talk about the fact that he won the popular vote. He won all the swing states. He won the Electoral College in a big sweep. It's not a landslide in my mind, because as I look at the numbers here, yes, 312 to 226. That's a good gap. The popular vote, though, and this is my barometer for how dumb Americans are and why I don't like democracy anymore, 49.8% of the popular vote went to Donald Trump. 48.3% of the popular vote went to Kamala Harris. She got 75 million votes, approximately, and Donald Trump got 77 million votes, and then some change. That is way too close. You might as well say it's a 50-50 split. For all intents and purposes, it is. Donald Trump won by, what are we at then, 1.5%? That's not a lot. If you get some people that sit it out next time, or Democrats find a way to cheat a little bit more next time, or you got these, I don't know, Canada kind of showed what happens there. You got your conservatives in Canada are basically Bill Clinton here. A lot of people say Donald Trump is basically Bill Clinton when it comes to social issues. You get a few people that don't like being mean and telling the truth. So I'm going to vote for the guy that'll ruin the country up in Canada. Carney will be worse than Trudeau, but I'm going to vote for that guy, or just not vote because Donald Trump. We have plenty of that in America. I'm not going to say exclusively the boomer generation, but it seems that way. because the older generation remembers a time when the media lied to them nicely and the politicians all spoke eloquently, even though they were only lying to you and never made your life better. But it was that facade of propriety and politeness. And we like it when our politicians smile and lie to us like Barack Obama. It sounds really good. The media is going to lie to me all day long, but at least I'm not getting agitated by the news. All the news coverage is negative now because Donald Trump is so bad. Couldn't be that the news media is lying to you on purpose and making you fearmonger and hyperventilate and freak out over nothing. But we have people out there, just like Canada displayed, America could go down that too. And you get 1 or 2 percentage points the other direction, and you've got a Kamala Harris in the White House. Kamala Harris, had she become president, would have implemented price controls. She was running on that as an economic policy. Things are too expensive, so we'll just cap what people can charge you, and that'll work out really well, because price controls throughout history have always worked out well. The market doesn't know what it's doing. Rather than saying I'm going to limit government spending, limit government handouts, turn off the money printer at the Fed, I'm just going to limit what everyone else can charge, and then I'm just going to crush businesses, essentially. I'm going to ruin the economy, but at least you can feel good because we have price controls. Things aren't that expensive anymore. It'll definitely get more expensive when you shock the supply side of things, but don't think too hard about that. So she would have done price controls on the economy, the last thing you want. She was vice president. She was the border czar when Joe Biden let in at least 10 million people. Nobody even knows. I've seen anywhere between 10 and 20. My entire life, we've had 30 million illegals in this country. Since I was a kid, it's been 30 million illegals. So we know that number is higher. She would have continued that in the name of America's ideals, apparently. Yes, our ideals are to flood the nation with third world immigrants that will eventually get naturalized and vote Democrat. How convenient, by the way. Yeah, also how convenient that she's given a speech on the 100-day mark. It just happened to coincide with Donald Trump's 100 days. Yes, I am sure that is a complete coincidence when you're a Democrat politician vying for a high office. Just a coincidence you picked the 100th day, not the 99th, not the 101st, the 100th day. So then again, you can allude to the first 100 days. I'll let others decide about that. Can they give us an example? No, they can't. Kamala Harris would have allowed the border to remain wide open. How many more tens of millions of dudes would have flooded this country, drained our economic system, our welfare system, brought crime and drugs and more human trafficking that Democrat voters always conveniently forget, by the way. They think this is a good thing. No human being is illegal. We can afford this. We have a high GDP as a nation, which does not translate at all into your individual middle-class wealth as you're watching home prices, groceries, everything else go up. But sure, you can afford it in theory. And so we always ignore, as a Democrat voter, the fact that hundreds of thousands of kids went missing under Joe Biden. I can't spell it out because I am streaming on YouTube and they will nuke the channel, but you know exactly what happened to those kids. We all do. Every Democrat voter just ignores that. I don't want to think about what's happening to those kids in those dark rooms and those gross, disgusting men. We just won't think about that. Joe Biden's a great man. Didn't you know that? Donald Trump's evil. We would have had more drugs pouring across the border. We just would have had more people across the border. Even if there was no drugs, no trafficking, the fact that there are just all these people coming across the border is bad enough. And then add on to that the criminal element, the trafficking element, the drug element, and all the rest of that. But sure, Donald Trump's mean and scary because he secured the border. He put the military down there. He's starting deportations. Again, not enough. Obama, Bill Clinton, even Joe Biden had deportations in their administrations. I need to see like quintuple that. Exit by 10 or 100. I want them all gone. But sure, you would have had Kamala Harris. You would have had that. You certainly wouldn't have had peace. And there will be peace in Ukraine. I have no doubt about that. Putin, Zelensky, they know what's up. We're not sending money to Ukraine anymore. That war would have continued and escalated. I have no doubt there would have been other conflicts that escalated because Kamala Harris does not have any clue what morality is. She would have supported Hamas with Israel. Israel's not going to stand by and let Hamas get emboldened by the United States. So that would have been something. You got other conflicts breaking out here. China's clock is ticking down on when they can invade. Their population is aging thanks to their 80s policy of one child. So those dudes got to figure out what to do. Yeah, Kamala Harris would have been a disaster in every facet. She would have codified Roe. And again, if I were a politician and the America First side, I'm leaving the issue alone. Donald Trump has left the issue alone. He said it's back in the states where it belongs. She would have codified that, though. For all of the churchgoers out there that I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump because he says mean things, but I really oppose abortion. Yeah, that would have been fantastic as well. She codifies it across the land. Fun fact, though, there have been more abortions since Roe was overturned year by year than before because all the blue states where I live in Minnesota, Roe actually had restrictions. Nobody remembers this. There were restrictions on Roe that states could say, all right, we got abortions here up to the second trimester, whatever, but you can't murder a child as it's passing through the birth canal. Once Roe was tossed out the window, where I live in Minnesota and other blue states, they said, yeah, you can just destroy that human being if they're not out yet. And actually in Minnesota, it gets worse than that. And J.D. Vance brought this up in the vice presidential debate. In Minnesota, every year, we have babies that survive attempted abortions. They're alive in the hospital room, and all you have to do, according to the law, is provide comfort. It doesn't say you have to save it. And of course, when you provide comfort, you just mean you make its death as painless as possible, mainly, which is horrific to think about. A newborn child. I've been in the delivery room with my own 2 kids. Anyone that doesn't even have kids can conceptualize this. So, brand new baby, helpless, crying, afraid, and doctors in Minnesota and mothers in Minnesota let that thing die on the table. It is vehement what is happening here, but that is Democrat policy, so that would have been codified. You would have been able to do that across the nation. What else would Kamala Harris have done? Would she put bad guys in jail? Would she send criminals, violent, repeat criminals to jail? Absolutely not. They'd be let back on the streets. Tim Walz, I haven't even gotten to the Tim Walz clips yet in Minnesota. He's proposing stuff that would see up to 90% of the prison population released. Guess what, folks? 90% of the prison population is not there for small, one-time drug use. These are violent criminals that the Democrats want back on the streets to terrorize you. So it's not the government terrorizing you, it's these individuals terrorizing you. They have to have separation there. But for all intents and purposes, it is the same. Kamala Harris's presidency would have been an absolute disaster. We're talking about more censorship. We're talking about higher taxes. We're talking about a failing economy. We're talking about more wars overseas. We're talking about more immigrants across the border. We're talking about all of it. And she wants you to think that Donald Trump's presidency has been a disaster and it's not upholding the ideals of America. I wish she would spell it out. I wish any Democrats could spell it out. I'm not on Facebook, so I don't get the trolls here. Every now and then on Facebook, you get someone commenting they think they're so smart and better than you, which is the complex of leftists, by the way. They have this complex of moral and intellectual superiority because they went to college. They went to grad school. They know better than you. Every Democrat knows better than you. It's wild stuff, folks. Wild stuff. I got to get to the Tim Walz clip. Before we do that, though, here's Carolyn Levitt saying, please, Kamala, keep speaking like this. Again, who is impressed with this? If you vote Democrat, are you impressed with this? I guess so, because 48.3% of the country voted for her. But here is Levitt after that Harris speech.
Your time. Thank you, everyone. And just to add on the Kamala Harris point, I think I speak for everyone at the White House. We encourage Kamala Harris to continue going out and do speaking engagements. You'll hear from the president at 11 o'clock. See you guys later.
Yeah, awesome comment right there. Please keep speaking. I've been saying this as well. AOC, Jasmine Crockett, Kamala Harris, by all means, get out there and keep speaking. I got to guess then at least 45% of the country, doesn't matter how dumb their candidates are, how hate-filled their candidates are, how much they desire to ruin the country, they'll vote for Democrats no matter what. In order to retain power, we just have to win a slim, slim majority. And I don't like that reality. It should be a landslide. Donald Trump should have gotten 70% of the vote if we had a sane nation. Now, because I favor voting restrictions and making it harder to vote, I think if we actually followed my prescription here of being older than, I'm just going to say 30 with an exception for military service, if you own property, and again, exceptions for military service, if you are a net contributor in the tax system, as long as we have income taxes, you need to pay in more than you receive in terms of benefits, direct monetary benefits. I'm open to the idea of the 19th. If we went back to one house, one vote, I am totally fine with that as well. But some measure needs to take place. I know we're arguing over here about voter ID. Voter ID doesn't go far enough. Like, that is just a given in my plan when I'm king someday. There will be voter ID, and there will be voter ID for, are you over 30? Do you own property? Are you a net contributor in society? You don't get to make $40,000 a year, and God love you if you're working hard to make $40,000 a year, but you're essentially paying $0 in taxes after all the breaks. And again, I would love to see income taxes abolished. Doesn't take away from the fact that you can own property and be older than 30 to still vote, but as long as we have income taxes to some extent, you need to be paying them. If you pay $0 in income taxes, you don't get to decide how the, in theory, taxpayer-funded government works. I realize they just print their money and sell their treasuries, and that is how they fund themselves. Your taxes are an illusion to make you think you have a voice. You have zero voice in politics. I can't believe people still think that. You're watching your elected officials go to D.C. and make decisions that ruin your life every day, and you think that you have a say. Like, that's a very cute notion. But 48.3% of the country voted for that. Here's Stephen Miller, though, taking it a step further, basically calling Kamala Harris evil, which she is for her participation in the wide open border that we had.
The only thing Americans want to hear from Kamala Harris is an apology for joining Joe Biden. And remember, she was the border czar, joining Joe Biden in aiding and abetting the invasion of our country. And we're never going to stop talking about this, because what they did to this country is unforgivable. It is an eternal stain on the Democrat Party. Every day we read another story. Every day we arrest another alien they let into this country who raped a child, who beat a woman within an inch of her life, who murdered a mom, who murdered a dad, who trafficked drugs into this country, who trafficked fentanyl into this country, who are responsible for dead and slaughtered Americans. And I don't know what's broken in the Washington press corps, that none of that moves them emotionally. The only thing that gets them exercised is, do we need to have more trials for terrorist supporters? Do we need to have more trials for gangbangers? Do we need to have more trials for illegal alien invaders? Even though Congress and the Constitution clearly say that you can expel invaders and illegal aliens quickly, efficiently, and properly. This president has literally saved America, and I could not be prouder. I could not be prouder, as I know Caroline feels the same way, to come every single day to this building where we have a leader sitting in office whose first, last, and every thought is the safety, prosperity, security, and sovereignty of the citizens. That's an important word, people. Citizens of this republic.
Man, it was a minute and a half. We played it all out here. That's where you're at if you vote Democrat. You are taking the side of a gang member, illegal, violent, criminal alien. You would choose that over your own American citizen neighbor and your family. Again, as Miller laid out here, we have cases of horrific R word. I'm not going to repeat it for YouTube. Murder. You've got the drugs. You've got the trafficking. You've got all sorts of crimes that take place. And Democrats are making that their champion. They're making Kilmar Abrego Garcia their Maryland man champion. Meanwhile, as Miller laid it out here, it could not be more clear. And that's what was so disappointing about the 2024 election. I just gave you the numbers, 49-8, 48-3, only 1.5% difference. And the agenda could not be more clear. Do you support this country? Do you support safe communities? Do you support your family? Are you intelligent? Are you awake? Are you not brainwashed? Only 1.5% split the difference there. Democrats, if you vote Democrat moving forward, where I live in Minnesota, just a heads up, when you reelect Tim Walz, because they will, he gave free health care to tens of thousands of illegal immigrants. Meanwhile, you, the working class Minnesotan, the middle class Minnesotan, you're paying your own premiums that have doubled since under Obama. Why are you paying for your health insurance? Why are you going to work? Why are you paying income taxes? 10% in the state of Minnesota, by the way, for state income taxes. You're watching your property taxes might have doubled in the last 8 years. You are losing all your money to the government and inflation and these corrupt health insurance conglomerates. And these illegals can just waltz in and get it all for free. In Washington state, they just passed a law that's going to give first-time black homeowners $120,000 from the government, i.e. white Washington taxpayers. And Democrats are okay with this. Free money for every group except you. And by the way, it's not even a zero. It's not just like they get it and you don't lose anything. You lose everything. You're the one funding all of this. And Democrats are okay with that. Meanwhile, they've never cut a check themselves. And it's this right here that really grates me when it comes to the Democrats. They will vote for this nonsense all day long. I will vote for these violent illegal gang members to come into the country and brutalize one of my neighbors or their kids. I'll vote all day long to give down payments to black homeowners. Also, Kamala Harris would have done that as well at a national level. And then I'm over here. I've never helped a black family. I've never helped an illegal family. I've never done anything personally that moves the needle. And in fact, I shy away from that as much as possible. And where I live in Minnesota, I think it's national, you got all these wealthy white suburbs that are just home to a majority of Democrat voters. Any county in the Twin Cities area where I live, predominantly white and predominant Democrat. And it's just like, do you not see the disconnect? You personally ran away from all these problems. You would never live in the black urban center of Minneapolis. You would never live where a bunch of illegals moved in. And in fact, you would fight it. But when it comes to voting, you're going to vote for it all day long. It doesn't make any sense. But again, it's just virtue signaling from Democrats. They're too dumb to know what's good for them or what is good for this country. And speaking of Minnesota, let's wrap things up here with Tim Walz. This one's an older clip. I got two Tim Walz clips. Let me see if I have the two Tim Walz clips. Here's one right off the bat here. This is Tim Walz talking about how he enjoys watching your stock portfolio go down. This is when Tesla had a dip, when every company had a dip. But he got off on it because he likes watching Elon Musk get it sticking to him. Even though his state pension plan owned Tesla stock, even though he knows any voter with a retirement plan might own Tesla stock, But Tim Walz is okay, because remember, he has zero money in retirement. He doesn't own a home. He doesn't have any stock portfolio, apparently, and he's proud of that. He's proud of the fact that he's a 60-year-old man relying entirely on government pensions. Yikes.
Saying on my phone, I don't know, some of you know this on the iPhone, they've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping. So, and if you own one, we're not blaming you. You can take dental floss and pull the Tesla thing off, you know.
These people are just full of hate. Full of hate. I know that's an older clip from Tim Walz. Likely you've seen it before here. But he enjoys watching people lose money. It doesn't hurt Elon Musk, this just in. But it does hurt regular people that are saving for retirement or investing in the future. And they relied on Tesla stock because it seemed like a solid purchase. And when it goes down, he enjoys that. He likes watching you get more poor. But here's a more recent clip of Tim Walz. He explains why he was selected to be vice president under Kamala Harris. Folks, I am not making this up. Tim Walz thinks he can connect to the white dudes. Take a listen.
I'm a team player. I'm with it. And there's folks that I recognize are smarter than me. They analyze this. You put your input in. Running a campaign that had never been run before, 100 days, in the situation we were at, running against a very unusual opponent on the other side. Mm-hmm. And look, my job was to do it. Look, I knew I was on the ticket. I would argue because we did a lot of amazing progressive things in Minnesota that improved people's lives. But I also was on the ticket, quite honestly, you know, because I could code talk to white guys watching football, fixing their truck, doing that I could put them at ease. I was the permission structure to say, look, you can do this and vote for this. And you look across those swing states, with the exception of Minnesota, we didn't get enough of those votes.
But you could be giving them permission on TV every day. You could have been messaging that way, and that isn't necessarily how it shook out.
Well, yes, but I also said I understand myself. I said I think I'll give you pretty good stuff, but I'll also give you 10% problematic. And so somebody's got to make the decision here to handle some of this stuff and to make it. And those are just decisions that were made. And I think after the fact, it is not second guessing or anything. I think it's fair to go back on and look at this. Look, we had the most qualified person who'd run for president in this country's history at the top of the ticket. That in itself should have got this thing won. We had, in my opinion, and you can disagree with me, I think history will.
All right, bit of a lag in the video. We'll pause it right there. Tim Walz saying that Kamala Harris is the most qualified presidential candidate ever should itself be disqualifying for Tim Walz ever being involved in politics again. I get the 48.3% might have felt that way, but no, objectively, that is wrong. Kamala Harris was the worst. The leftists always invert right and wrong, good and evil. She was the worst candidate we have ever seen. The lowest IQ, the worst policies, all of it in a bag it was the worst. No, she was not the most qualified. And Tim Walz thinking, hey, white guys, it's okay to vote for communism. It's okay to be a simp for these racist, communist Democrats. Every strong white male voted for Donald Trump. Tim Walz epitomizes this weak beta male. I am white. I need to feel bad about that. I'm guilty of some sin from hundreds of years ago, even though the entire world practiced slavery. I don't even know how we're having this conversation. I understand narratives and agendas, but the entire world had slavery. It was normal. Doesn't make it okay, but it was normal. And in America, abolished it. We got rid of slavery. Yeah, we owned black people. We abolished the system, and then we helped enforce the abolishment of slavery around the world. But no, that gets ignored. We had slaves, so that's bad. White people are guilty. And white guys, you need to feel okay voting for a black woman. You have to, it's tough. You're voting for a woman, man. It's tough. You're voting for a black person, man. I'll say this. I would vote for a black woman. I have no problem with that. It's not going to be a Kamala Harris, I'll tell you that much. I don't want to vote for a communist because I'm not looking at her skin color or her sex. I'm looking at her policies. I'm looking at how she will be dealing with world leaders, dealing with problems at home. How will she make my life better? I'm not voting for someone to make me feel good. I'm voting for someone to make me feel better. I'm not voting for a friend. I'm not voting for a role model. I am voting for someone that will do the job I'm electing them to do. If you are a young black girl and your hopes and dreams got crushed because a black woman wasn't elected president, that says something about you, not American society. You shouldn't be drawing inspiration from them. There are no barriers anymore. In fact, it is easier if you are a young black woman to say, I aspire to do X, Y, or Z, because even though Donald Trump's coming in and smashing DEI, it is still prevalent in every major organization. They will simply rename their DEI trainings to some other nonsense. It used to be like implicit bias. It used to be something before that. We have affirmative action in place still, even though the Supreme Court tossed it out. There are other workarounds. And everybody that's been hired already, they're still entrenched in the systems, no matter what kind of laws come down from Donald Trump. Where I worked in the government school system, it is replete with wokies. You can pass any law you want, but every person from superintendent to school board to principal to assistant principal, they already got hired based on how did they respond to questions about how will you support the marginally and historically oppressed communities? How will you show up every day to serve Black and brown students? Excuse me, I have white kids in the class. Nope, shut up. You have Black and brown kids that have been historically and marginally oppressed, and so you need to focus on them. All the people already got hired, so no matter what law takes place, those systems are still available to everybody else. Hey, even though there's a new president, I still believe that a Black woman should get hired instead of a white man because reasons. So it's going to take a long time. It will take generations to undo. All right, folks, we're at 36 minutes. I promised a little bit of a shorter show today. I just wanted to make fun of Kamala Harris, make fun of Tim Walz a little bit, and make fun of the half of this country that voted for them. I would guarantee we are still at the 49-8, 48-3 mark. If you voted for Kamala Harris, how many people have actually been like, you know what, it's not so bad? They're not thinking that way. They're listening to the news still, and they're saying, whoa, Donald Trump is a threat to democracy and a threat to America, and he's not upholding the ideals of America. Even though my country is safer and the border crossings are down and there's peace around the world and our economic situation is going to improve, they're not thinking that way. They're like, oh, no, Kamala Harris is right. She is so eloquent when she's speaking. She was the most qualified presidential candidate ever. So this is a little frightening to me. No matter how much good Donald Trump accomplishes, is it going to move the needle? And again, you got these Republicans, these Christians, whoever out there saying, well, I voted for Donald Trump because I couldn't have Harris or Biden in office, but now I regret my vote because he's saying really mean things. He's deporting family members from Maryland. He's putting the military on the border. He's not ending the war fast enough, apparently, or some nonsense like that. He's hurting the economy. Even though Kamala Harris was going to run on price controls, even though you lived under 4 years of Joe Biden's administration that saw prices double and triple. Why aren't we talking about that? Everyone's out there, you should have bought a car before the tariffs. I've had family members, friends tell me, hey, Todd, you should have bought a car before tariffs. And I'm thinking, cars were already stupid expensive. This is not a tariff problem. I didn't want to pay $60,000 for a truck. Paying $70,000 for a truck in the short term, it's still expensive. No, I'm not going to get fear-mongered about that. I should be paying $30 to $40 for a truck in a normal world, but thanks to Joe Biden's policies and COVID policies specifically, now I'm paying that already. So no, 60 to 70 doesn't really frighten me anymore. I'm not a moron. Things are already expensive thanks to what's been baked into the cake. All right, folks, with that being said, I'm getting out of here. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. on our main Rumble channel, the American Tribune, you can catch Jason and I talk on Freedom from the Press podcast. All sorts of clips coming your way, all sorts of commentary. We got pictures from Will's wedding this past weekend. Last week, we all flew down, part of the American Tribune, to a wedding for one of our business partners in Chattanooga, Tennessee at Lookout Mountain. It was a beautiful wedding, beautiful ceremony, beautiful location. Always good to be back in studio, like I say, but we had a great time. So we will show pictures from the wedding. You got to tune in tomorrow or catch the broadcast later. But again, that's on our main Rumble channel, Freedom from the Press. You can catch us on YouTube, catch us on X, catch us on Facebook, where we'll stream live tomorrow as well. But folks, this is the American Tribune Live. I am Todd Peterson. I appreciate you tuning in today. Thanks for watching. We will be back next Tuesday for this podcast, 9:30 a.m. Central, only on Rumble at the American Tribune Live with Todd Peterson. But folks, if I don't see you again, have a great weekend. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Starting on day one, we'll implement a rapid series of bold reforms to restore our nation to full prosperity. We're going to go full prosperity and to build the greatest economy the world has ever seen, just as we had just a short time ago. We will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will